I like to consider myself to be technologically uh, apt, not inept, but definitely apt, right? But seems like sometimes I still be having some challenges. So just needed to go live. Okay. Hopefully that will not fall. Okay, greetings everyone. Greetings. Yes, you're here again with Chef India Camille from Back to Live by Chef India. If you're new to my channel, um, I'm going to scoot back a little bit. I am a living foodist, a living food vegan or plant-based educator, new special nutritionist, and me and my husband, we have started Homestead, Rastafari Homestead Belize here in the Belize rainforest. So we live off grid, and this channel is really just about raw living foods, vitality, the life, not a style. I do share, you know, information. I do share information. I do share tips. I do share all of that from my own personal experience, right? So this week's topic, and as you continue to tune in and participate in the lives and know when we're going to go live, which is every Sunday at 11 a.m. unless otherwise posted. uh, I do speak about raw vitality, what it is to be a living foodist from a perspective of being that for 14 years, um, and working in the field as well and doing various detoxes for others as well as myself, living a living life, not a style. Uh, I am an author as well. So yeah, you can, look at the links below and you can discover more about what it is that I do as Chef India Camille and what it is Back to Live offers or all of those things. And if you like the video, I have to say subscribe, right? I have to say subscribe and click bing bing, and just because the whole reason why we are on this platform is so that we can tune in with you and we can connect with you. It's not always just about business or money or I'm trying to sell you anything or anything like that. A lot of times it's just because I have something to share with you regarding living a living life, not a style, regarding raw foods, regarding plant based, off grid living. I feel I have something to share. So, we're going to jump right into this Strong's topic. And if, like I was saying, is if you stick around, you'll know I don't like to use the word weak because we're definitely not weak, and everything we do within a 6-day cycle is, strong, right? If we're productive, how we're supposed to be. So, this Strong's topic is really about how to stay all raw, for various active levels. There are people who are like, I lift weights, so I could never be raw vegan. You see how them raw vegans be looking? They be looking crazy. They look like they need to eat, right? Are some you say they look really dry? Are even there are other people who, I don't know, are you able to see me well? The sun is coming out now, so we'll see how that works. But there are others who say, well, I want to keep my booty, you know what I mean? I want to keep my rounded figure. I like my rounded figure. I just want to know that I'm eating healthier. I want to use the bathroom regularly without any issues. I don't want to have any inflammation problems in my goody. And then there are others whose weight goal are their body desire is, or whatever they feel they need in their life is to actually be thin or be skinny or right. So for different active levels, right? And each of those body types require different activity levels. And then there are some of us who are mothers. There are some of us who have large families and some have small families, but whatever the case, we have other responsibilities that require for us to be active. We may stand on our feet all the time. We may work a job that, we can't go and use the restroom when we want to all the time, just off of the drop of a hat, right? Like I've worked with clients who are judges, and it looks like it's gonna rain, so I may have to migrate. I know it's gonna rain while the sun is out. It's such a mystical vibration, right? But if it starts to rain down, get any heavier than what's dropping right now, we're just gonna move the camera. It's part of being off grid, right? So yeah, so the different activity levels, right? Also, like how to eat raw vegan if you're a man, like from a female's perspective, eating living raw is very different than from a male perspective. We have different requirements. Females require more fat in their consumption, right? We should have more fatty things, like uh yeah, and then men require to be able to put out an extensive amount of strength, right? And power, like, so they need a lot of strength and power. So we require different things, as living foodists, as individuals. There are the base levels that every goody requires. Like every goody requires to be hydrated. You can't even begin to unlock your strength or even your balance within, as far as like being an empress and having, the proper amount of healthy fats to eat, the proper amount of building amino acids to eat, all of those, if you are not hydrated, right? Speaking of, I really wish you could share this with me. So this juice, just side note, because I'll be having some side notes too, right? So side note, this juice right here is my tropical tang. And I don't know if you remember tang, but this tang juice, it has like passion fruit and pineapple. It's really delicious. So yeah, so what I require is different than what my king man requires as a living foodist, right? And he'll come and he'll say to me all the time, like, listen, India, like, I respect that you do a lot of detox, and I respect that your goody really deals with a lot of fruit sugars, and it deals, I do have my fats, but I'm not a person that has a high and fast metabolism. So I don't require the level of different building amino acids through the foods that I'm eating that he requires, right? Like his metabolism is very quick. Once I give him food, he's like, oh, I'm still hungry. Or an hour later, he's like, I'm still hungry. I need more food. I need more fruits. I need more to what I'm consuming than you do, right? So what I found, and I have found this to be consistent with clients that I work with as well, right? So in general speaking, the goody needs a certain amount of hydration, water. I would say minimum you want a gallon of water, right? But when it comes to being moderately active, and lifting weights, and you would want to put raw food in your consumption that is more denser raw foods that take a longer period of time to burn, and that the goody actually has to rev up to burn those nutrients, right? To utilize those nutrients. And that's where the longevity of I would say the longer the longer dispersion of sugars take place when we talk about complex carbohydrates, right? Because everything is sugar, right? I mean, you have fats, you have your amino acids, which can be structural building amino acids, which people would consider to be protein, right? Which is denser nutrients. So you have those, and you would want to probably consume those, have more of a balance of probably like 60, maybe anywhere between 40 to 60%, right? Depending on how active you are, right? So, for example, if you're a marathon runner, right, or you're running a marathon, right, and you're like, well, I'm going to try to be raw vegan, because like being raw vegan allows you to have the hydration levels, right? Like allows your goody to not be weighed down by waste, and really like how vital you feel, how much vitality is expressed through your being has much to do with whatever amount of waste the body is experiencing at any given time period, right? But let's just say you you're like, okay, I want to do raw vegan, but I'm used to carb loading. You know what I'm saying? I'm used to like putting down a lot of complex carbohydrates. How am I going to get that as a living foodist? And you can get that. You can get that through spelt bread, sprouted kamut, sprouted grains in general, buckwheat. You can get that, which is not a grain, it's actually a fruit, right? But still, yet, these are more denser foods. And when you process it a certain way, like sprouting, you actually increase the nutritional profile, right? So, and it helps with recovery. It helps to build those muscles, right? So, and you would also want to, probably include an increase of certain nuts like pecans, right? Those are more dense. Walnuts, right? The seeds can help to be a balancer, but they're not going to be high on the fat profile, right? Usually most seeds are not high on the fat profile, which in contrast, someone like me I am active. I live an active life, not a style. I do work out when I feel to, right? Like I'm not a person who's like, I'm gonna work out every day. No, I go running sometimes to jumpstart inner energy, to jumpstart that fire that's required to begin anything, right? So usually when I'm beginning something is when I am doing a lot of running and physical activity, which is really external work, right? Which is a whole nother topic. It's a whole nother topic. That's a topic for another day. That's a topic for another raw talk, right? So yeah, so he requires not only more fats, more denser, you know, structural building amino acids than I do. He also and complex carbohydrates than I do. He also requires a higher amount of those as well. He's 6'7", right? And he's very, very active. And we're out here in the rainforest. We're chopping down. I don't say we. Every now and then I'll chop down a little tree, but he's chopping down trees and digging pits and all kind of really, I don't want to say hard, but it is hard work, right? It's some real work that he's doing out here that requires real strength and it requires real groundedness. It requires proper nutrition and in the amounts that his goody requires as well. So, for me now, on the other hand, I have a slower metabolism, right? Which people correlate with being overweight or which is part of, it can be part of that, but really, it just means that your goody takes a slower time to process than someone with a very high metabolism, because literally you drop some food in him and it's just like, where'd it go, right? You drop some food in me, I'm like, okay, I gotta i gotta I gotta process that. This is why juices, things that are higher in fruit sugars, less in density, work well with my consumption most of the time. However, I still have to build, right? Like, and I still have to, like, right now I'm on my menses, right? So I am releasing a lot of nutrients, a lot of minerals, and that needs to be replaced. So even now I have a different requirement than he does. While I don't want anything to bog down my system, I do need those minerals, right? And I do need um I require right now in this time period, I require to actually have some grounding elements as well. Maybe some nut milks, maybe some, but still something that is not going to constipate the system, because that's a whole nother topic, constipation and menstruation, right? But I require something different. So in general, like, and then let's say if I was breastfeeding and I had children, okay, then I would require higher levels of fat and way more denser raw foods. Like, so we would be talking about almonds, nuts, seeds, all of that, but in abundance as well, right? And the most important thing about that is that you do want to process them correctly. So if you are lifting weights, I would say the ratio that you're looking at, right? Like, let's talk about like the ratio of water foods to, denser magnetic foods that have less water. Um, If you are an individual that is slower metabolism, takes some time to process fats, have a compromised digestive system, which is another reason why we're not, and this is something that's just a lifelong repair. It's a lifelong repair, right? It gets better, a lot better with living foods, but you are repairing, right? You're repairing from a lifelong. Then you would want to probably include foods that have higher water content. If you're sensitive to sugar, lower sugar content. If you thrive on sugar, which is something that I do, like fruit sugars, then you would probably want to make sure you include fruits that are higher in sugar, right? But generally speaking, you're looking at a probably ratio between, I would say, 70 to 30, or even 80 to 20, 80% water foods, 20% denser foods, right? Magnetic foods. And you also want to deal probably with 10%, probably it depends on how sensitive you are, and that is something that gets very personal. And I definitely help ones and ones with that, but it's a very personal when you get into going like 5%, 15%. But you would probably want to split that electromagnetic up with the magnetic as well, right? So you have that magnetic grounding, building, very dense, and then you have that electromagnetic, which is the stabilizing foods, right? So they contain some water, so it moves through the system a little easier. But they also are more denser, like greens, for example, unless you're having them in a liquid form, and then they become electric completely. Um, mm, Still stabilizing though, because you have those minerals, right? So the goody is feeding off those minerals, and it's not just like a straight electric flow of sugar, which goes straight to the blood. It skips digestion, doesn't need to be digested, right? So, and then if you're if you're, say, a breastfeeding mother, or you are pregnant, you really want to, same way, increase those. You would want to increase, not the same way, but you would want to increase the fats, like coconut butter, definitely seeds and nuts. Seeds would be excellent because seeds tend to have a higher mineral profile than the nuts, right? But the nuts are important as well, because you have like walnuts, for example, which we covered, by the way, in our raw Food Daily, which is a new app that I have, right? Last week, our feature ingredient was walnuts. So if you still need those walnuts. Walnuts would have like those healthy saturated fats, which is going to be very essential in forming that baby, or even feeding that baby, right? So, um, if you're cleansing and you feel like you have like something going on with your digestive system, and you're not able to be as active as you would want to be because of the disposition that your goody is in, then I would say you would want to do mostly water foods or liquids until the cycle of illness or disease breaks. And you'll know that by what comes out. Okay. Are there any questions out there? If you have any questions, this is live. This is not just me speaking. This is not just me speaking. So if you have any questions, you want to make any comments, please type it in the box, and I think I can receive it. I do want to remind everyone, I do want to take this opportunity to remind everyone that I do have, that this Raw Talk on YouTube will be happening every single Sunday at 11 a.m., right? And then also, I did launch a new app called Raw Food Daily, in which we go live every single day and we make a raw food dish, except for Saturday, which is uploaded. But I'll post more details below. Are there any questions about what I have shared thus far? I feel like I'm talking a lot. So I'm going to give it a moment. I'm going to take a sip of juice. And maybe in the next Raw Talk that we go live on, we'll speak more about how to eat in different seasons as well, right? Because a lot of people say, well, Chef India, like, I really tried to go raw, but I really just wasn't feeling like I had the power or the strength, or that I had like the energy levels that I usually have. And a couple things could be taking place. I mean, it could be possible that you're not necessarily getting in the proper amount of nutrients, but on the other end, like that, it depends, right? Because on the other end, living foods contain all of their nutrients unadulterated. So it doesn't make sense for people to tell me, like, I need to cook food to get the nutrients out of it for the most part. And even in those other foods that they say that they need to cook, sometimes they are a little better because it releases some like sulfur or releases some kind of uh, gaseous, some things are better processed differently, right? On the goody. However, for the most part, all your nutrients that you're receiving from all of your raw living foods is going to feed and nourish that goody in its fullness. So you could not be getting it, but what could most likely be happening is you're detoxing. You're detoxing, okay? Like you are releasing waste, and that what has gone in, it does not feel good coming out, and it will make you tired. It will make you feel sluggish. It will make you feel like you do not have any energy. How do I know this? How do I know this, you ask? Well, I know this because I have gone through it, and it's amazing to me. It amazes me that every time I go through a detox, I'm like, oh, I feel so bad. I feel so bad. I know that I don't need to eat. I know that I'm just going through a waste release. And then when I drop that waste, I'm like, oh, I have so much energy. I feel like I could pick up a whole, mountain. So you could be detoxing, okay, if you have switched to all live and you're not feeling the same level of energy or strength, right? The other thing with that is important, like even with your active levels, is to stay active. If you do not use it, you will lose it. That's how that goes, right? That's how that goes. So if you um if you are detoxing, meaning that like everything you eat bothers your stomach. Everything like it's just like you're at a point where it's just like you don't know what to eat. You don't know, everything is irritating. Your bowels are irregular. You're experiencing high levels of constipation and an active lifestyle, and especially life, not a style, but also if you're living a sedentary life, like if you're driving a lot or if you are sitting at a desk a lot, then you would really. Sorry. I'm back. Okay, so I was saying the battery is gonna die soon, so we're gonna definitely close up this raw talk. I don't see any questions here, any comments, but if you're experiencing levels of illness, right, and irritation with your gut, and then definitely higher water foods, constipation, higher water foods. If you live a sedentary lifestyle, you work on the computer a lot, higher water foods, right? And I would say the ratio to that would be 70% to 80% water, 10% electromagnetic, and 10% magnetic, or you can even do 5% magnetic, right? Especially if you're over waste and you're trying to get rid of that waste, which people call weight, right? I hope that answers any questions. I hope this was informative. If you like the video, just go ahead and hit subscribe. Tune in next Sunday. Tell your friends about it. And also check out the information I have below if you're interested in getting inspired every day to make a living raw, not a lifestyle, but a living raw creation. I'm going to show you how easy it is to be raw every day and enjoy it to the max with like the best taste ever. All right, well, I'm Chef India Camille signing off. You're here with Back to Live by Chef India in the tropical, tropical rainforest of Belize. And we're off grid, so stay tuned. Peace and blessings. Blessed love every time. Every time, Rastafari. How do I end this thing? Okay. Oh, oh, okay. I found it.